Good morning, everybody. This is Eureka Street Crypto Hub, and I'm Eureka John, broadcasting live from Leander, Texas at 6:51 in the morning on a Saturday, and it is September 18th, 2021. And did I say, yeah, I'm in Leander, Texas, just a suburb of Austin. Yep, that's it. Nothing special. And this is my crypto show, my video blog. Nothing formal and not financial advice, and I'm not teaching you anything. I'm just up here, just in the morning, just doing my deal, just waking up before everybody else does in the house and talking about some crypto stuff. And yeah, just discovering stuff as I go along here, because that's what I do. So I might not know everything or know about everything I'm talking about. I'm just really just browsing through all this stuff and spending a little time in the morning just doing something I enjoy. So that's what it's about. All right. So let's go on over here to the CoinGecko. And let's see where Bitcoin is at. Let me refresh this old bad boy right here. And Bitcoin is at $48,688. So it's been around the mid to high 400s all week. I do believe it got down to 44,000 at some point. But, this time last year, if I said, wow, man, it got down to 44,000, I'd probably be freaking out. Just even at the thought of that. And I started piling every single bit of my assets into Bitcoin at this point last year. If I would have known that at this point this year, I would be saying that things got down to 44,000. So, and I only think it's going up from there. We've had several prominent people predicting 100,000 by the end of the year. I don't know. This show's not really price focused or oriented. It's not what I do. I just look at tech and I look at stuff that's happening, look at some news. I try to figure out concepts around all this stuff, and you watch me stumble through this stuff. And so I'm not going to sit here and try to give you price predictions or analysis or tell you to invest in anything, because I don't know, So anyway, Ethereum is at $3,524.12. And let me pull out the chat bar just in case anybody jumps on. Usually Saturdays is a little lower. I'm going to be having a guest on tomorrow, Crypto Chemistry, and he's a fellow, podcaster, and he's a fellow Twitter head, and we've chatted back and forth ever since last October. And he's real good at technical analysis and charts and Ichimoku clouds and all that other stuff that I have no concept of. But he's got a little presentation he made, and he did a podcast show recently, and it's good. And it talks about DeFi aggregators on Layer 2 and on Binance Smart Chain and stuff like that, and ways in which you can earn really high yield. Of course, with reward, there's always risk reward and all that stuff. But it's a really good information for those really wanting to dive into the deep DeFi space and find really cool ways of earning some pretty high yields. So we'll talk to Crypto Chemistry tomorrow morning at 6:30 Central Time. So let's keep on going down here. Cardano's at 242, Tether's at $1, Binance Coin's at 418.82, XRP's at $1.09, Solana 162.95. So I was listening to the Bankless roll-ups on the way home yesterday. They do the weekly roll-ups of everything that happened, and they talked about the outage with Solana that happened a couple days ago, and the outage with Arbitrum. And they compared and contrasted them. Solana got up to about 400,000 TPS transactions per second before it started breaking down. What happened is there's basically a traffic jam, and it got to the point where the blockchain started forking off. And that happens a lot of times. If two nodes come to the same answer, one creates an uncle, I guess is what it's called, and then it starts to create a fork. And then usually the one that gets ahead and runs more transactions ends up becoming the dominant chain, and then the other one falls off and it does not continue, and then that fork is dead. And that's what happens a lot of times on blockchains when more than one block is created at the same time. And but apparently this traffic jam just started overwhelming the system with lots of these forks, And it just ended up crashing, and it was down not just for like an hour or two, but for I believe like 20 hours, 18 or 20 hours. It's pretty insane. Um, that's pretty hardcore for an entire blockchain. Like if your money was on there, it was you had no access. It wasn't lost, but you had no access to it, and you had nothing, no recourse or anything. So it was pretty scary for a lot of people because billions of dollars had been put on the Solana blockchain, and so it was pretty scary for a lot of people who have who were really put a lot of faith in Solana. And it wasn't. And David from Bankless was saying it wasn't, or Ryan Sean Adams, one of the two, were saying that it wasn't the time while the fires were burning to sit there and criticize them. But now that the fires were put out and Solana was back up, boy, howdy, they let loose. They criticized the heck out of Solana, and they said it's not because they're being Ethereum maxis, but it's because Solana is highly centralized from their point of view, and they said that it's just not acceptable for an entire blockchain to be down like that. So I don't know. It's pretty scathing, I don't know. I think Solana's going to be okay in the end. I think that this outage was a huge wake-up call for them and for their team, and gave them some really important things to work on and focus on. And it's it's I think, I mean, like I've said it past few days, it might be a good time if you believe and have an optimistic viewpoint of Solana to jump in. It's a great entry point at 162 because it did get up really high, well into the 200s, I believe. But it's up 18.5% back from the 24-hour. It got down to like 130 or something. It's pretty low. I don't know. I still didn't jump into it, but I should. I don't know. Anyway, Polkadot's at 35.17. Good morning, Randy. How you doing? Happy Saturday to you. So Dogecoin's 24 cents. USDC's $1. Avalanche 71.21. Terra's 35.83. Avalanche has been making some serious moves. It's kind of, people call it an Ethereum killer. I haven't really dug into it. Avalanche, I need to. Chainlink's at 29.33. Uniswap's 25.03. Let's see here. Let's go down. Filecoin 85.9, up 4.6. I'm going to talk a little bit about Filecoin today here in a little while. Maddox at $1.40. So yeah, Randy, I mentioned that I'm going to be interviewing Crypto Chemistry tomorrow, so that'd be, I think, a good one to watch. He's really going to get into a lot of pretty hardcore degen stuff, but DeFi aggregators, and I've been using some of these DeFi aggregators on Matic, and basically what it does, it takes your liquidity pool tokens from one DeFi platform, and then it takes those liquidity pool tokens and it stakes those, and it aggregates them from several protocols. I mean, it gets pretty complex, but it's really interesting stuff and a great way to make some seriously high yields. Anyway, so yeah, I want to go down here and take a look at Quant. Quant's kind of one of those, like I love the price action. I don't love the whole, bankers token, like I don't know, I'm just not really into like bankers tokens like XRP and Stellar and Quant and stuff like that. It's just the whole point of this to me is to become decentralized away from the banks, and but the Quant is an overledger that allows all the banks in a way and large corporations to be able to communicate back and forth to each other and use each other's ledgers and stuff like that. But it's sitting at 357.79, and it is. I mean, I've done very well off it. I did a video on a while back, and I bought some at that time. I'm really glad I did, and I bought the overall supply was really low. Looked like a solid project. I mean, a lot of money in it. I mean, okay, I look for micro caps. I look for good things with amazing technology and beautiful use cases and things that celebrate the message of independence and that support the little guy and all that stuff. Like Library token is one of those for the library.com Odyssey, the decentralized video streaming platform that gives a finger to censorship and all that stuff. I love that type of stuff. I mean, I'm right down that, but at the same time, I also kind of sometimes want to go where a lot of the large money is being dumped into, and where the institutions are going to, and that's where you'll make a bunch of money. And I feel like Quant is one of those. Sometimes you just have to follow the money if you want to make some money. And so here's a little thread with Overledger Network ready to be launched. Let's look at what this means for the Quant token, why I think it will explode in price in the week coming due to a supply shock. So let me take a quick look at the Quant Network QNT. QNT. All right, so Quant. Number 40. Okay, so it's a market cap, $4,768,000. Max supply $14,612,000, $612,493. That's a really low max supply. And when you're talking about this money all trying to gobble up something of this max supply, there's a lot of tokens out there with low max supply, and you can go hunting around and be like, oh, it's got a low max supply, I'm gonna jump in this room. Scarcity. But no, this one actually has a lot of moneyed interest that will compete with this particular 14 million tokens. And as you can see from the major price action. So let's look at what this means for Quant token and why I think it will explode in the price coming weeks due to a supply shock. So he says, let's start with the team token activity up to this point in the current circulating supply. 91% of all tokens are currently circulating. Roughly 8% exchanges, 83% in the hands of holders. The team has two wallets. The funding wallet, there remain 212 tokens to be sold. 800 days ago, it had 2.5 million tokens. January 21st, 1.1 million remained. This means they sold 800,000 tokens this year while the price of Quant went up by 40 times regardless. Company wallet with 1 million tokens. So out of that 14 million, the company wallet has 1 million. Most likely the tokens in the funding wallet will all be sold before the full Overledger network goes live for gateway staking in the coming weeks here. This will leave us with 93% circulating and only 7% left with the company, which has not moved these tokens for close to 3 years. With funding wallet empty and Overledger launch with gateway staking about to go live, think about what will happen next. Selling tokens for funding by the company will end. Instead, the Quant Treasury will now start buying tokens for licenses to lock them up. They can only obtain these tokens from the circulating supply, therefore sell pressure turns into buy pressure by the company. As the Overledger network launches, gateway staking will begin. This reduces the active supply as holders begin to lock their tokens up to earn fees. The fees for transactions on Overledger network will be paid in Quant tokens, further increasing demand as people begin to transact on the network. And then lastly, there are currently 31,500, I believe 31 million I don't understand. 31 the Europeans. It has nearly doubled in the last 3 months alone and continues to grow fast. As awareness rises, new wallets will add buy pressure. For reference, Aave with similar supply cap has 95,000 holders. So at 31,500 holders, it has nearly doubled in the last 3 months alone and continues wallets will buy pressure as well. For reference, Aave with similar supply cap has 95,000 holders. Wow. To sum up, the team will switch from selling to buying tokens, which will be locked up. Holders will also start locking up tokens to earn paid fees in Quant, and then new holders will continue to grow as utility kicks in. No inflation, 93% circulating. Do not sleep on this. So it's pretty self-explanatory there. The Overledger network is a interoperability network to allow large corporations and banks, various blockchains, to be able to communicate with each other as well as with public blockchains. And you have to have this Quant network token in order to use the Quant network Overledger network gateway, which is being spread around throughout the banking industry. So yeah, like I said, sometimes you just have to follow the money, and on this one, I'm doing that. Okay, so anyway, now that we've talked about some moneyed interest, I've been sitting here listening to podcasts and some interviews about IPFS, and that is Interplanetary File System. So switching gears here, and now we're going to be talking a little bit about a different way to store files and build websites on the internet. So the internet has traditionally used hypertext transfer and a server client type of relationship, in which if you want to get anything on a website, for instance, all this text here and all the code that says this is green and this is yellow, it's stored. Well, probably not this. This might be using IPFS, but I mean, it's stored on a centralized server, and that server is located somewhere. And in order to get to that server, let's find a website. I think. Let's just go to Forbes.com. Yeah, they're probably not on IPFS. All right, so actually, Brave browser that I'm using uses IPFS. So yeah, if you go to an IPFS website and you have Brave browser, you won't have any issues whatsoever. So let's say, I don't know, is there any good articles on Forbes? I don't know. Okay, Solana's market value plunges 20 billion after outage. It's good for Ethereum. All right, so let's go to this article right here. What's up, JMarsh318? How you doing? Oh, and I will be I'm gonna start broadcasting on Float. I'll get to that in a second. Okay, here is the let me give you guys some something we're jumping on. I appreciate it. So let's see here, JMarsh318, and we'll do a Theta lunchbox right here. See, Theta Network, which I'm broadcasting live on, it gives me little things that I can give away to people. Prize ID maybe. It gives me little things that I can give away. I'm a big fan and investor. Well, not a big investor, but I but I can Theta Network and Theta tokens and the streaming platform because I like it. It's decentralized. It allows you to share your bandwidth and run nodes and stuff like that. Anyway, I got off. Okay, so this and you can't see it here. I will pull. Shoot. All right, Control Z. All right. So let me pull up this address bar so you can see that right there. Okay. So you see Forbes.com right here, and then /sites, Jonathan Paciano, 2021, September 17th. Wow, that's quite a file tree. And then another folder, Solana's value market plunges $2 billion after outages, and then another /, and then another little something. Okay, so all these / designate different folder hierarchies. So if you look in any single computer, when you want to retrieve a file, you have to go through all these systems of folders, and it's location based. All right, so everything that you need to access on any website that is not using IPFS, it has to go to a location and a single server, and it has to retrieve that file no matter where you are in the world. If you're in China, if you're in the United States, if you're in Australia, if you're in the UK, wherever, okay. So if the file is located in Austin, Texas, and you're in Vladivostok, right, and you want to retrieve that file, you have to go and make your internet connection, go all the way to Austin, Texas from Vladivostok and get that article because you wanted the English version of it or whatever. I don't know. And it's a long way to go. And then what if my government does not like the Russian government or something like that, and then they shut off access to that, Or what if the content was something that some political entity or corporate entity or somebody didn't like, and that was hosted on an Amazon web server, and that got shut down. They shut down the website that way, So that's happening more and more nowadays. As you can see, what happened to Parler and what's just happening to a lot of websites, and then what's happening as well through things like YouTube videos being censored, people not being able to say the name of this I can't even say the V word, it's not vagina, So you know what V word I'm talking. I can't say it on YouTube because then it'll be flagged and all that stuff. So this is a result of using centralized servers and centralized platforms and stuff like that. So IPFS gets around this, and it is. I think it's the future. I think it's where Web 3.0 is going. It's where the internet is going. And yeah, the centralized server client platform worked very well whenever things were just pictures and text, right? But now we're doing a lot of video streaming. The amount of data that is going through websites has just grown exponentially in the past few years. And yeah, I don't think that the traditional client server structure is good for that. And there's just too many hack points and too many traffic jams. All right, so here it is. Here's the growth of average web page size and number of objects on the web page between July of 1995 and July of 2014. So as you can see, for quite a few years, it just kind of stayed really low, and then it kind of started to increase right around 2008, 2009, and then right around here at 2010, it just started getting high. It started growing faster and faster, and then around 2012, bam, it just shot through the roof, the average web page size. And a lot of that started coming around. I, I guess around YouTube is starting to gain popularity, and MySpace was starting to phase out. Facebook was coming in, started having Facebook's live and streaming, and then and Netflix and Amazon Prime and all this stuff just really started kicking into gear. And then now here we are, way up here, the average number of objects and the web page size. So yeah, so HTTP is great for loading websites, but it wasn't designed for the transfer of large amounts of data like audio and video files. These constraints possibly enabled the emergence and mainstream success of alternative file sharing systems like Napster for music and BitTorrent. So previous to IPFS, there were ways of getting around a lot of these file sharing issues by using Napster and BitTorrent. Well, the musicians didn't like Napster too much, and BitTorrent is it's still pretty good, but yeah. So fast forward to 2018, where on-demand HD video streaming and big data are becoming ubiquitous everywhere. We are continuing the upward march of producing, consuming more and more data, along with developing more and more powerful computers to process them. Major advancements in cloud computing have helped sustain this transition. However, the fundamental infrastructure for distributing all this data has remained largely the same. So in come IPFS, Interplanetary File System. It just sounds so cool. Interplanetary File System. It's an open source project created by Protocol Labs and an R&D lab for network protocols and former Y Combinator startup. Okay, so Juan Benet, he's the genius. He invented Interplanetary File System and Filecoin, which is a way to incentivize and monetize people to use their distributed file system, and to use their computer space and the extra file space that they have on their computers and stuff like that, to allow people to store files on them. And so what IPFS does, instead of retrieving a single file from a centralized server, it breaks that file up into a bunch of pieces, or it stores multiple copies of that file all over the place. And it provides a hash number for that, and that hash number is unique to that specific file. It cannot be duplicated, the hash. So when you want to retrieve a file, instead of going to that location and that little file tree I showed you on the Forbes website, it takes you to that specific hash, and it looks for that hash on tons of different computers. And when it finds them, it pieces them all together by the closest location possible. And then, so, and then it pieces them together and it serves that to you. So it's not based on location, it's based on content. So somebody says, I would like that picture of that green dog with the sunglasses, and it takes that description. There's the hash associated with that description, and it goes and finds that. So yeah, Protocol Labs is Juan Benet's R&D department or company that invented the IPFS and Interplanetary File System and Filecoin. And then it's a Y Combinator is kind of a venture capitalist company or whatever that incubates and helps these idea generation companies to get on their feet and to get out there in the world and to do stuff. So it kind of finances them in a way. So that's what Y Combinator is. All right. So anyway, so yeah, this little picture of IPFS and the globe and stuff. Hold on one second. Let me go back over here to the chat. Okay. Okay, so Randy's telling me my stream's getting choppy from time to time. I don't know why that's been happening the past couple days. I might need to reset my stream key. I will make sure I do that before tomorrow. So my apologies for that. I think that happens every once in a while when I let my stream key get a little stale. All right. So anyway, I said I'm going to be broadcasting tonight on Float.app. Float.app is a kind of a Twitterish, Facebooky type of decentralized social media app. And here's my settings. All right, so I'm out of my settings. Show you the actual app. And it uses IPFS, and it's unsearchable. So it's really cool. I'll live stream on it in the way that Facebook does Facebook Live. So I figured tonight I will go on there if I'm not like completely exhausted from today's events. So yeah, a lot of it is very libertarian focused, but there's all types of thoughts on here. But yeah, I'm going to be streaming on here tonight. So look out for this right here in this live portion. That's where it will be. So I don't know what time we'll do this. So anyway, that's that. Let's go back over here to the IPFS. All right, so the beginner's guide to IPFS. All right, so let's see here. Okay. Data is stored in centralized servers and accessed by location-based addressing, which I showed you that file tree. This makes it easier to distribute, manage, secure the data, and to scale the capacity of both servers and clients. However, there are many weaknesses in the realms of security, privacy, and efficiency. Control of the server translates to control of the data. This means your data can be accessed, altered, and removed by any party with control of the server. This could be an entity with legitimate authority over the server or a malicious hacker. And location-based addressing, like the Forbes file, addressing data is identified by where it is located rather than its content. This limitation means you have to go all the way to the specific location to access a piece of data, even if that same data is available somewhere closer. There is no way of telling if the data has been altered since the client only needs to know where it is, not what it is. Okay, so you could be going to retrieve on a hyperlink something that says dog with green glasses.jpg. All right, well, somebody could have replaced that link with something else, and then next thing you know, you got some lady's bush right in your face up on screen. You're like, oh, trying to hurry up and close that, so yeah, you don't know what's going to be on the other side of that hyperlink. But think about it in other ways that are less comical. For instance, if you're trying to get information on something to vote on a particular topic, and you want to know what you're voting on, so you're going to look up that voting proposal, and say somebody created an identical proposal that looked just like the one that was being describing the voting proposal, but they changed the language up, and they changed it up just enough to get you to vote that the way that they want you to vote, where you thought that you were voting for something and you click yes, but it ended up being the opposite. And that's where it can get kind of dangerous when people start fiddling with files and tampering with it. And so, yeah. So that's that. All right. So then they start talking about a little more of the technicalities, DHT, the file sharing programs, the Merkle DAGs, talking about how it works using Merkle trees and direct acyclic graphs. And, it just shows you basically Merkle and a little nerd humor, Angela Merkel, Prime Minister of Germany, in the tree. Don't confuse these two. Okay, I won't. So it basically each node that hosts these files, and you can run your own node on your computer, or you can participate in that. There's a little plugin that's a file extension you can put in your browser, but it does take a lot to actually run an IPFS Filecoin node. So there's a difference between enabling your browser to use IPFS and to kind of act as a as a lead node, I guess, and then versus being an actual miner for Filecoin. So I'm into the technicalities of that because it's out of the scope of this. And yeah, I'm out of time. But anyway, you get the point. So I didn't even really get into Filecoin, but Filecoin is a way, because you say, how are people going to volunteer their computers and their stuff like that to do this, to store files, other people's files on their computers voluntarily? Well, you got to monetize it, and that monetization is through Filecoin. And so go over here to the Filecoin website and familiarize yourself with that. I mean, I think it's an amazing project. I think it is bringing in an entirely new way to do stuff. And this is Web 3.0, you guys. There's a whole lot of information, and I'm just being down this Filecoin rabbit hole. There's all these different TED Talks and videos and everything here. The next internet revolution, a TED Talk by Juan Benet. What exactly is Web3? Juan Benet at the Web3 Summit. I mean, he's really presenting all this information here. I can't get it to pull up. All I'm saying is I'm not here to sit there and use exhaustive presentation on or IPFS. I'm just kind of introducing you to the concepts, and I want to prompt you to go in and start looking up Filecoin, IPFS, some ways in which you can participate in IPFS. It's important. So I think it is the future. And I am a futurist. I do have an optimistic view of the future, regardless of everything that's been happening in the world for the past couple of years. I like to maintain a sense of optimism in whatever I do. It's getting a little harder and harder nowadays, but it is what it is. All right, so that being said, I'm going to go on about my day. I've introduced the concept of IPFS and Filecoin, and I will be studying deeper more on presentations and podcasts, and really trying to get my computer all sorted out with IPFS. I'm actually building a website, eurekastreet.crypto, on unstoppable domains right here. If I can get this to pull up. And it's super easy on Unstoppable Domains to build your own website on IPFS. And it's if I can get it pulled up. So you'll see that coming soon once the domain name records are fetched. All right, so anyway, I was going to show you that. I forgot, so it's a little too late now. But either way, so here it is, me building my website, eurekastreet.crypto, and I can use these quick little templates and build my own blog. I don't even have to code HTML, even though I know it. So all right, so I'll see you tomorrow with my interview with Crypto Chemistry. All right, later, folks.